All right, it's time to hop into the pod. Today, we're going to be talking about some Web3 stuff, talking about some metaverse stuff, having a lot of fun. First of all, thank you so much for coming on the pod today. Would love for you to maybe just give like a quick overview of who you are and a little bit about yourself before we dive into it.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you for having me in your podcast today. And thank you also to the audience on the other side, of course. My name is Irena Rezec from Slovenia, a country in Central Europe. I have more than 30 years of experience in various fields. Started in software development sphere, and all the way to project management in different countries on different projects, business support center management, and all to the management of my own private business in various sectors, which all gives me a really advantage in cases that it is necessary to have and understand the broader picture or to gain strategic insight into a specific business situation or even technology-based solutions. I have to say, this is the topic today, I have to say also that an intensive Web3 related training programs are behind me, started already 3 years ago. First with the Blockchain International Trade Program, organized by the International Trade Center in Geneva. And that time I met for first time actually the blockchain, and also realized how strong technology it is and how important is for the future actually. And then I continued training programs related to Web3, like NFT, DLT, Bitcoin, Metaverse. And I must say, I just finished today also the program related to how to influence Web3 space. And now I'm here today and I'm willing to talk to you about all these topics.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love the fact that you're going and getting some very up-to-date education and going and seeking that. So I'm just kind of curious, looking into your background a little bit. Seems like you've done a lot of really interesting things at the, I would say almost at the institutional level or the government level, or however you want to call it. But it seems like you've kind of been privy to a lot of really interesting conversations. And then now, you're interested in Web3. Can you maybe talk us through that arc a little bit, that career arc a little bit more, of like, what were some of the bigger projects or initiatives that you've kind of worked on in the past, and how all that really led into your interest in Web3?
Yeah, true. I have really a very diverse experience from the past. So I started, my study was related to IT. I graduated in information system development, and my first part of the career was actually really related to software development in nice, very strong, that time, very strong organizations, private ones, in IT companies. And I don't know if coincidence happened that I jumped into a completely new sector, public sector, and I became, at that time, it was already, let's say, 25 years ago, I became a manager of the Euro Info Center. That time, today, this is the Enterprise Europe Network, coordinated by the European Commission, international network of business support centers, and I managed that center in Slovenia for many years. And for first time, met SMEs with all their problems, with all their questions, and this, how can I say, all what happened afterwards is related to this experience from from this network and this center. So basically, companies have mainly two questions all around the world. Later on, when I left the public sector and established my own company, I traveled around the world through the different assignments of European Commission, World Bank, USAID. So I traveled around the world, and I supported business support centers in many countries, in Latin America, in Asia, in Central Asia, Southeast Europe, etc. And basically, companies have two questions, actually. We mainly how to get funds and how to sell, and all around and all related to this. So if you solve these two questions, and if you help them to support them in this process, or how to get funds or how to sell, they actually don't need more. And of course, in majority of time, or many times, they are not ready. They are not mature, or they are not ready to get funds or to sell, let's say, to foreign country. And then you need to realize at which point you need to step in and to help them in one or another way. And but let's say the problems are not very difficult, not very different from each other. I mean, doesn't depend on which region or which country you're working in, mainly all around these two questions. And of course, companies, they come to either to business center or to the private company. Normally, they don't know that they don't know. You need to really check at which level they are stuck, and at which level you can help them. And this is, and of course, at that point, you need more deep knowledge about the topic. And because you are a small company or small advising company, and also when I was in the business center, it was a small business center. So you had to cover all different kind of topics, and you had to learn. That's why I have so big, so diverse knowledge behind, which helped me now to really get a deep insight into the problem and to understand the many different kinds of processes, business processes, and business problems. This is, let's say, in short about me.
Yeah, that's fascinating that it all kind of comes down, like broken down to making sales and raising funds in a way.
Yeah.
It's kind of the universal business, the universal language of business, if you think about it.
It's true. All around these two questions, everywhere. Yeah. Just different maturity level behind, our companies are in different level, but still these questions. What I would like to add, of course, there are these two questions, but then you have horizontal topics. One is, of course, IT, which is everywhere, in every process, at every level. And the other one, which is not so evident, not yet, but absolutely very important, is collaborative and partnership let's say there are collaborating partnership strategies or approaches, which is also a horizontal topic. And all these four, let's say, I'm trying to understand and put together when company come to me and say I need support. Of course, many companies are not ready yet for all these how can I say, areas to put together. It's difficult for them, of course, but now I see that without these four important areas, you can't actually succeed. Of course, you need also then finance and you need marketing, etc. But still, I believe these four areas I mentioned together really put companies into the strong position if they do this well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think I've seen actually similar in the format of like really the only thing that matters are those two things you mentioned before. Yeah, it's very fascinating. I really like the simplicity of it to really like boil it down to these things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so thinking about just kind of staying on the um, I, I'll say the leading edge of technology, if you will. The Web3 space is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I'm really curious because you've seen a lot of business. I would imagine working at a public agency for entrepreneurship, especially when you were promoting foreign investment, and then also in the consulting work that you do. I'm just kind of curious still to learn a little bit more of how you really came across and got interested in Web3 and NFTs and how that kind of fits into your mental models.
Very much, because I must say that probably 15 years ago, already 15 years ago, I wrote an article and I spoke at one international conference about collaborative and partnership approaches. And I asked at the end, my question was, when the society will be mature enough that the ownership will be, how can I say, shared among each of us. And this is actually the concept of Web3. And I spoke about this, I thought about this, I questioned myself and the others about this 15 years ago. So now Web3 is on the way it enables already, but the society is not matured enough, not yet. But technology is there, which enables actually the collective ownership, interoperability, etc. So everything is there to realize such new models. And I really strongly believe in such models and supported by the technology. It's much easier to implement such models today than, let's say, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I can really appreciate how the highlight on ownership would be really appealing. Like just looking at just kind of looking at even it. I mean, I'm struggling to think of a business model that it won't be important to. You know what I mean? So anything that is related to generating more sales or raising capital, both of those are actually, in my mind, ownership in a way. One is transferring ownership of a product or service to a customer, and the other is transferring some sort of ownership or some sort of debt obligation, but ownership of, let's say, a financial contract to an investor or a creditor or something. So to me, that makes a whole lot of sense how the central thesis of it boils down to these two, and then connects with the ownership piece.
Yeah, maybe I need to add something more. ownership, let's say blockchain can follow the ownership, etc. And but what I would like to say that in the new society, or in Web3 society or future society, everyone can be in different roles. It can be in the role of the seller, it can be in the role of the creator, and it can be in the role of contributor. Or maybe marketer. In any role can be, and blockchain and the new technology can recognize each of the role and can reward a contributor, or let's say the creator, in an appropriate way. So I see these models in that way. Everyone can be in each role and can be rewarded in line with his or her contribution.
Exactly. So I'm so to use a silly term, but I'm very bullish on that idea, because I was actually brainstorming with a friend of mine. I had this idea, and by the way, I am so deeply down the rabbit hole of the idea of blockchain and NFTs, to the point where, because I grew up playing a lot of video games, and so I just see the intersection of blockchain and cryptocurrency, and I realize those are separate things. Cryptocurrency is built on top of blockchain technology. I recognize that, but to take it a step further, the intersection of blockchain, crypto, and gaming, and the gamification of things. Most people don't know that there's like billions and billions of gamers on the planet, because even if you play a little game on your phone, you're still gaming, you're still playing. And so the intersection between gaming and crypto is going to be just incredible. And that leads us to where the metaverse kind of comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people kind of give that specific word, the metaverse, like the metaverse has become a charged word, right? And I think it's a little silly to get upset about a word. I just don't think there's any need for that. It's like, with this particular word, let me, not put my foot in my mouth here. With the metaverse, like, it's just a term used to describe an idea. And I don't think we even all are on the same page about what that means. But anyways, the whole point I was making is I'm very far down the rabbit hole of crypto gaming. And one thing that I see as a huge, huge, huge potential, and something that's just incredibly important, and what's going to be very powerful, and what I was talking to my friend about, is when there can be freedom of participation in different organizations or different projects, and there's like a contribution mechanism where a portion of let's say utility in this, okay, so let me just be more specific instead of trying to generally talk about it. So let's say there's a community, right? And the community is participating in a project, let's say building a game, or let's just say building a game. And each part of that community wants to participate in different ways. So some people are going to bring in different gamers, and those gamers are going to generate revenue. Let's say, for example, my idea was there should be a mechanism to where a certain portion of the cash flows from the game as a whole should be put into some sort of escrow, right? Where it's continuously updated as cash flow comes in. It should be held in escrow. And then as the different members of the community contribute in certain ways that are measured and tracked with, data and math and all that stuff, that, for example, if they bring in gamers who spend money and generate revenue, that those members of that community that's participating in growing this game should get and earn a percentage of that cash flow, because they contributed to it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. And as they grow their participation and their contribution, the ability for them to cash flow based on merit and production and productivity, that should increase as well, right? So
Yeah,
so that could be like but imagine that played out over time. As people are less active, their percentage of that cash flow is going to go down, assuming other people are active and earning some of that cash flow. And so it incentivizes constant productivity and constant contribution and engagement, and it allows people to build something that they then they get to take a part of and almost have quasi ownership in one of the most important ways, which is the cash flow side. So that is something I'm extremely excited about. And to your point before of like the creators and the people that are taking the activities and taking the making the effort, they can get rewarded for that effort, and
yeah,
finally they can in a really really interesting and creative way.
yeah, exactly. Completely true. I have to say that in this my last, let's say, career decade, I'm trying to put all together all my knowledge and experience from the past into a digital product on a top level named Connected Universe Solutions. And of course, not in the gaming industry, but business support industry, and to build some kind of virtual, personal, and business support ecosystems with exactly the same methodology behind you mentioned in the game industry, just in the business support area.
Oh, that's really cool. How are you kind of picturing that that's going to work?
Yeah, so let's say this Connected Universe Solutions is divided into the personal business support and business support. And at certain point, these two worlds come together. Of course, everything should started at the talent on the individual level, which brings into the business world knowledge and experience, and should be tracked. Their contribution should be tracked in appropriate way in the system, to be able to reward the talent or the consultant or any other person who contribute to the businesses. And we already know that, or we noticed that today the freelancer market is growing, and there are not so many, how can I say, jobs, permanent jobs in the world now. So there are many outsourcers or freelancers or talents, innovators. We are talking about open innovation, for example, again, from the outside world, but there is no some kind of ecosystem or the solution who can track their contribution. And this is something that at the end, I think this is a vision. Of course, it cannot be done in a short period of time, but still the final idea is the same, like you mentioned in your gaming industry. So also in these correlations between individual talents and businesses who use these talents on a daily basis or on periodical basis, and they should be rewarded in a different way than today. Yeah.
That's fascinating. So in that model, how are you thinking about the legal implications of having a lot of people work together on something and there's a flow of cash, and is it like going to be concentrated by locality or geography? That seems like it might be a little bit limiting. Like how exactly are you how are you dealing with the legal?
This is still open. We are not yet there because first we need to make this basic, how can I say, to put together the basic flow of businesses and to answer to these, let's say, questions that we talked about. But in general, yeah, these experts will be split it all over the world, and at the beginning can be some kind of marketplace. So it means that we even don't deal with the payment itself, but in the future, probably some other solutions will come. But really, legal point of view, not yet really studied, because we are not there yet. We are still at the basic concept, which of course will not include all what we would like to be included. Yeah, I can't say about the legal requirements of each market. Not yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something that I'm trying to figure out as well, just thinking it through. Because I have this idea for a kind of a product, way down the road. Because I'm always thinking about the future, but just kind of have something in my mind that I think would be really interesting. And yeah, that's something that I want to figure out there, because seems like that could be one of the big hurdles. Like, for example, if you have a project and there are people that are working in the United States and Australia and the United Kingdom and the Philippines and in Europe, and then like how does that all work? And I don't even know if there is an answer. There'd probably just be people who are taking their best guess to figure out how that might work. I'm not sure.
How do they sell the products now or the services now? It's not, I don't see a lot of differences in that case. Maybe I'm wrong, but if I sell services or if I contribute with, I don't know, I contribute with useful information. It's the same like to be or reseller or maybe commercial agent or advisor. How do they charge now? They are already on different parts of the world. So I don't see that there is a lot of much of difference. I mean, just in another forum, but otherwise, I mean, in another forum, and of course, with the track record, so that you can really do this in a right way. But in terms of payment or reward system, I don't see a lot of difference, because also now you sell the services, your services in Australia or maybe in US, and you are in Belgium. It's not so much difference. I don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Because people are doing it now. I guess the implication would be like selling a product to somebody else that is dealt with, but having, like, let's say it would almost essentially either be employees or contractors, like independent contractors that would be operating from multiple different localities. I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe.
Yeah, in our case, at the beginning, it's some kind of expert pool spread all over the world. So if someone needs help in Brazil, there is a local expert who can contribute. But of course, the expert can contribute to individual company or can contribute to the system, so that many of users can use this, and this should be tracked and of course rewarded. But it's the same. I mean, the system is a legal body, or the legal body is behind, and the expert is some kind of legal body, and I don't see the problem. Again,
yeah, hopefully.
I don't see the problem in that case.
Perfect. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I'm just really fascinated by that. See, part of the whole Web3 idea and like blockchain and crypto and all this stuff is like we are literally giving ourselves a really good um platform, I guess, to work with other people in really interesting ways. Like I'm so excited to see what does everybody figure out how to create? Like what are the different creative things that are going to come out of, because it almost feels like a creative and cultural renaissance in a way. Um,
Mhm,
yeah, just
mhm.
it just feels really exciting. A lot of people are pretty fired up. Yeah, it's a little bit dampened because of economic conditions, but there's still a lot of really creative people who are really excited to build stuff.
Yeah, true. One of the, I mean, many talents or many groups of talents are, of course, available to contribute in different projects, in different processes. For example, innovators, artists, musicians, etc. And I believe that all these contributors can, I mean, I would say in another way, because I'm thinking about businesses, and I believe that businesses needs to learn first how to use all these talents available, different talents all around the world, which are available, how to use them, because they are still focused on their internal stuff, many of them on their internal stuff only, and they don't use the potential of the external world. And this needs to be, how can I say, changed. And I say again, I would connect this again with the technology. So we know all that interoperability between data, between systems is on the way. And very soon, all these systems will be interconnected, which is not the case now. And first, the companies will learn about these interoperable systems, and then I believe also to be more willing or more how can I say, prepared for working with the external talents and experts, which in my experience still is not the case, or I would say those who are trying to implement such models, they are already on competitive edge in the front of or in comparison with the others. But this is the process. They can't jump into these new models immediately. I mean, still they need to be prepared not only on the top level, but the entire, let's say, senior team or of their managers need to understand these new concepts.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, how does somebody with 100,000 employees make a full pivot into the metaverse? I don't know if
Yeah,
they can. I
yeah,
don't.
very difficult, very difficult. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but if they don't, then they're gonna get out competed.
Yeah, yeah. I think in the case of, in this case, I believe SMEs has a strong advantage because they can adapt much faster to the new models than big corporations.
Exactly.
Although of course the big corporations, some of them are trying to feel, let's say, or to catch the startup mindset in their companies, and they introduce even own accelerators, etc., just to feel, understand this spirit of SMEs. But I see that they actually can't catch this flow of a huge number of SMEs because they can really change fast, and it's completely different mindset in SMEs than in corporation, bigger corporation.
Yeah, I think that'll probably, so I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. I think that will result in a flurry of smaller acquisitions where the big boys cannot, the big boys and girls cannot keep up. And so they just have to buy their way back into competitiveness and bring it into their suite of tools, or somehow take advantage, like probably through M&A. I'm not sure. That's kind of my thesis. However, I am very biased because I have spent 1/8 of my career in the M&A space. So I see a lot through that lens.
Yeah, I don't have many experience in that field because in our country we cannot, it's not so popular to take over, let's say, or to make a merger with another one. But I know that in the world this is very popular. And of course they invest. We need to know that corporations also invest in many startups, and in one or another way they own the startups. So it's also the case that the startups, if they would like to introduce new solutions, that they need investors, and many times happens this by the corporations, of course.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what comes down the pipeline. So what do you see as kind of what do you think is the North Star of where this kind of stuff is heading? Who do you think the folks that are really going to be the ones to take most advantage are going to be? Like, are they, I don't even know. That's such a broad question, but I want to tee it up for you to really, wherever you think, where do you think the biggest opportunity is, and who's taking advantage of it?
Yeah, I believe that metaverse is some kind, it probably, if it is developed for the good purpose, it can be a future of user experience space. And also shopping, of course, shopping experience probably will be developed in the future. Companies will jump into this space in the future. I'm missing a lot. I'm missing educational systems using metaverse. I think that there are not so many educational systems who are starting to use metaverse, and I believe that there is a lot of space in that area. And of course, I would say the competitive advantage can be gained with using several technologies. We all know artificial intelligence, blockchain, metaverse. So in combination of all of them in a unique way for a specific purpose. What I'm missing today among startups is, how can I say, to have some kind of applicability to the real world, I mean, to the real business world and to the real business processes. Normally there is a really nice solution, but it's not connected or not put into the business flow in an appropriate way, to be interconnected with other solutions which businesses normally use. So to be really, I mean, businesses will start use this new technology when this technology will cover the entire process, not only part of it, or at least these parts will be easily connected with other systems which are in place in the companies right now. So I think there is still a lot to do on improvement of the solutions which are available on the market at the moment. Of course, I'm thinking from business perspective side, or business, let's say from the business side of view. And I'm still missing a lot of things there. In metaverse, it doesn't matter if this is a metaverse, if this is a crypto, or this is a blockchain, it is the same. I mean, these solutions are not connected with the process, with the entire process of the company in one or another way. They are not, and they are more or less independent, and this doesn't solve the problem of the business actually, because they can't use thousands of applications which are not connected between themselves, between them. There is no connection between them. I mean, it's difficult to them, the companies, to use such system. Then this is what I see today as a problem. I believe that would be adoption by the companies would be much faster if the solutions will think about interconnectivity with other systems. Even with Web3, doesn't matter, because there are still, of course, many of them, many Web2 applications which are widely used among businesses.
So
and they will not be changed very, very quickly, of course, because companies, they invested a lot of time, a lot of money to build the systems, and they will not just change over the night everything. So we need to think how to connect Web2 solutions with Web3 solutions, and slowly upgrade or change Web2 into Web3, but doesn't go over the night.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely going to take time. I will be very interested to see how the interconnections happen, right? Because it definitely feels like there's a lot of disparate solutions that are all kind of coming together now. Well, I say that, but it's like in some ways it feels like there's a great rebundling of things, but then in another way there's like almost an equal and opposite reaction of more opportunities for disruption. Like even with the whole AI craze right now. And by the way, I'm not knocking AI at all. I mean, hey, let's use all the technology we can to be as productive as we possibly can. But in that, even with AI stuff, that's just going to create more opportunity to make more interesting applications that can be integrate Web3 and crypto and blockchain into our existing pieces of technology. And it just feels like it's all going to be linked up in interesting ways. But then if there's so many more things, just more, how do things stay connected? And what does it all connect back to? I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting questions that kind of pop up going down that rabbit hole of thinking.
Yeah, I think that the technology enable already interconnectivity. There are some open standards, etc. So it can be even if not anything, but still a lot can be interconnected already now, and it is already on the level of Web2. On the level of Web3, you need to change also the models, business models, which is different than just to connect data between one or another system in Web2. In Web3 requests also the change in the business models, and this is a little bit more organizational changes are needed, which is a little bit more difficult because, let's say, managers normally don't understand these new models. They are even not aware of them, so they can't change. And they can't even develop the appropriate strategies in this respect. I believe that what is still a problem is a problem of the data, which let's say, which are integrated and one data come from Web2, and you say, okay, there will be your data will be safe and will be tracked in Web3, but we don't have all mechanism how to check data or the truthness of data come from Web2. So I believe that these oracles in between, let's say, are still the problem, and you have still, how can I say, a human factor behind and human behavior behind, which can cause fake information or fake news or something like that in between. But this is the case. We are at this level now. So we have Web2 and we have Web3 technology, and we need to find a way how to interact with each other. This is the case now.
Yeah, I'm very excited about all of that. What's fun too for me is like in the whole Web3 crypto space too, it feels like yes, there's real business being done by talented people, but there's also a bunch of goofballs or like just hanging out and having a lot of fun and using their video game characters as avatars and then building that into personal brands and turning that into businesses. And that to me is one, really funny because I've been gaming. I've been a gamer since I was 6 years old. And so to see that culture become pervasive in a section of the business world where the market cap of crypto is $1 trillion, so $1 trillion industry, they have a bunch of video game characters walking around. But also it's like I guess it's maybe a foreshadowing of what's to come, and a rebound away from super stiff and super serious corporate business. That to me is like such an interesting phenomenon that's occurring.
Yeah, true. What I can say, I can say maybe that still there is a need for some kind of balance between being in the virtual world and the real world, and this is especially important for young people because they spend much more time in the virtual world than in the real world, and I believe there will be a lot of problems, psychological problems in the future, and we are not aware of them. We even can't predict the problems which will arise from that point. And on the other side, of course, companies who will use. I mean, I think that many of them are, let's say, some of them, they use metaverse very successfully already in their, of course, engineering or production process. They create digital twins. They try to simulate and improve through the process their, let's say, their production process, etc. And this has an enormous potential in the future, absolutely. And on the other side, we still don't have, we still don't use all potential of metaverse, which means that more interactivity with all technology behind, so combination of artificial intelligence, combination or communication between metaverses, etc., is not yet in place, and but also the purpose of the metaverse. So at the moment, we have companies use metaverse as a showroom or event venue, or they use, of course, we mentioned already for digital twins or holograms, etc., to understand better certain technology process or something like that. Some of them, they use the metaverse for education, not so much, not so many, but not more than then. And the metaverse, also technology, will still need to be developed, and the real purpose of the individual solution needs to be extended from what we see now. I mean, again, also in metaverse, there are partial solutions and not the you can't see the entire flow or business flow in the metaverse also, which is again which is needed to be done in the future. I don't know how can I explain better, but
No, I think I understand. Like
yeah.
there's a lot of opportunities and people aren't really taking full advantage of it, and it's needed. And then I think there's probably an even bigger layer of there's a lot of stigma around it, and therefore a lot of people are resistant to it. And then even if some are resistant, but some want to adopt it, then I don't know, there's some issues there that that could arise. So I think I understand.
What I would say, let's say smaller businesses or even medium-sized businesses, traditional ones, I'm talking about traditional ones, they don't have capacities within the company to understand the metaverse. On the other side, startups who develop the metaverse solutions don't have any experience in traditional businesses. And it's very difficult then to connect these two systems. This is this is also a problem.
Well, I think for every problem, there is also an equal and opposite, or maybe equal and direct opportunity for
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs to go in and solve it.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is again, this is then the partnership model, the startup, which usually consists of, let's say, technology staff, marketing staff, need to think about appropriate partnership in order to understand business flow or business processes. Depends what is the purpose of metaverse, but still it's not enough to make a showroom if you can't sell, but you can't sell if you don't fulfill all legal requirements or, let's say, technical requirements of specific markets. So it doesn't help a lot if you, I mean, you can sell the product in the metaverse when you are ready. And if you are not ready, let's say 99% of companies are not ready to sell internationally because they don't fulfill the requirements in one or another way. So even if there is a selling point in the metaverse, 99% of companies, they can't use this feature because they are not ready to sell abroad.
I see. So that'll prevent onboarding and more people using it, leveraging it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe not directly. Companies even don't think about metaverse because they have so many problems to prepare themselves for foreign market, and they are not at this point to jump into the metaverse and to have a showroom or sell there. So you need to bring metaverse into the earlier stages.
Yeah, because they'll be able to adopt it as like a go-to-market from early on as their main strategy.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, this has been fascinating. I can't believe the full hour has gone by so quickly. I feel like we just kind of got started with our chat here. But I want to thank you very, very much for coming on the show and sharing your thoughts and your journey and chatting with me for some time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. I hope it was useful somehow to the audience, and have a nice evening and really good success in your podcasts in the future.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And I'm excited to see what other interesting projects and products and creations that you make as well. And whenever the full I'm thinking of it in my mind as like when everybody's contributing together and working together to create that we kind of talked about a little earlier on. Whenever that really gets launched and we can maybe do a deeper dive into that, would love to have you back on the pod at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, in a few months I can tell you more.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much. And for the folks that are watching and listening, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and for sticking with us all the way to the end here. Y'all are the best. I love you very, very much. And I will see you all on the next episode.